Blood dripped onto the marble floor of the Hotel Sinclair's kitchen. Not from a cut. From Naomi's knuckles, scraped raw from 15 straight hours of scrubbing industrial ovens, until her fingerprints nearly disappeared. You missed a spot. Vivian's Louboutin heel clicked against the tile as she pointed to a grease stain the size of a quarter. Her diamond bracelet caught the fluorescent light, throwing rainbows across Naomi's exhausted face. Clean it again. Properly this time. Naomi didn't look up. She'd learned years ago that eye contact with her cousin only invited more cruelty. She dipped the steel wool back into the ammonia water, the chemical burn in her nostrils now as familiar as breathing. Did you really think anyone would choose you for tonight's event? Vivian laughed, the sound sharp enough to cut glass. The Korean delegation is arriving in 2 hours. Father specifically requested I handle all guest interactions. You know why? Naomi remained silent. Silence was survival. Because you're an embarrassment. Vivian crouched down, her perfume overpowering the cleaning chemicals. They said no man would ever choose a girl who looks like she crawled out of the kitchen. They said Korean businessmen want elegance, not someone who smells like bleach and desperation. They said. Vivian, that's enough. Uncle Marcus appeared in the doorway, but his voice carried no real authority. It never did when it came to his daughter. Vivian stood, smoothing her red cocktail dress. I'm just being honest, Daddy. Naomi needs to understand her place. Tonight's auction is for the elite. She'd frighten away the bidders. Auction. The word made Naomi's stomach turn. Her uncle owned the Hotel Sinclair, but everyone in their circle knew his real business. High-stakes illegal auctions disguised as charity galas, art, antiquities, and sometimes marriage contracts to settle debts between powerful families. Tonight, the Korean Jade Syndicate was sending representatives. Rumor said they were looking for an American bride to legitimize their West Coast operations. Vivian had been preparing for weeks, convinced she'd be chosen. The dowry alone would be worth millions. Naomi, finish here and then go to your room. Uncle Marcus said without looking at her. You're not to be seen tonight. Understood. Yes, Uncle. Her voice came out hoarse. She hadn't spoken in hours. After they left, Naomi sat back on her heels, staring at her reflection in the oven's polished steel door. 23 years old, dark skin that glowed despite the harsh kitchen lighting, natural hair pulled back in a scarf to hide the beauty her aunt had always called threatening. She wore the jade bracelet her mother had left her, the only possession she'd managed to keep hidden from Vivian's thieving hands. Before I go on, stay with me for a second. If you're still here, it means this story reached you. And I don't want to tell the rest of it alone. Just quietly tap like. That's how I know you felt it. Subscribe, so you don't disappear before the truth shows itself. And tell me something small but real. Where are you watching from right now? I read those comments at night, and they remind me that someone is listening. That this story matters. Okay, let me continue. The kitchen door burst open. A man stumbled in, clutching his side. His expensive suit was torn, blood seeping through the white shirt underneath. He looked Korean, maybe early 40s, with sharp features and eyes that scanned the room like a predator even while injured. Please, he gasped in accented English. Someone is trying to kill me. I need somewhere to hide. Naomi should have called security. Should have screamed. But something in his eyes, a desperate recognition of vulnerability she knew too well, made her move instead. Here. She grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the industrial freezer's false back panel. Her uncle used it to hide inventory during health inspections. Get in. Don't make a sound. Why are you helping me? Same reason anyone should help someone bleeding in front of them. She pushed him inside, then grabbed a mop and bucket, positioning herself in front of the panel just as 3 men in black suits charged into the kitchen. They spoke rapid Korean, one of them grabbing her arm hard enough to bruise. Did a man come through here? Naomi's heart hammered against her ribs. She pointed toward the back exit. He ran that way, knocked over a whole rack of dishes. They didn't thank her, just ran in the direction she'd pointed, their footsteps fading down the hallway. She waited 5 full minutes before opening the panel. The man emerged slowly, still bleeding but alive. He studied her face with an intensity that made her want to look away. You lied for me. A complete stranger. You needed help. Most people would have given me up. He winced, pressing against the wound. Especially to men carrying guns. Naomi finally noticed the bulges under the pursuers' jackets. Her hands started shaking. Who are you? Nobody. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Someone who will remember this kindness. He moved toward the exit, then paused. The auction tonight. You should attend. I'm not invited. Then uninvite yourself from wherever they've hidden you. Sometimes the people who say you don't belong are exactly the people who fear you might belong somewhere better. He disappeared through the service entrance before she could respond. Naomi stared at the blood spots on the floor. She should clean them before anyone noticed. Should forget this ever happened. Should go to her room like Uncle Marcus ordered. Instead, she found herself thinking about her mother. About the stories she used to tell before the car accident that killed her and left Naomi orphaned at 15. Stories about women who were told they weren't enough, who were hidden away, diminished, erased, until the moment they stepped into their own power. Your worth isn't determined by people who benefit from your silence, her mother had said. It's determined by the moment you choose to be seen. Naomi looked down at the jade bracelet on her wrist. Her mother had called it a family heirloom, something passed down through generations of women who'd survived impossible circumstances. She'd never understood why her mother insisted she never take it off. From upstairs, she could hear the first guests arriving. String quartet music drifted down through the ventilation system. Vivian's laugh, bright and performative, echoed through the hallways. Naomi made a decision. She wouldn't attend the auction, but she would watch. She'd find a way to be present, even if unseen. Because the wounded stranger's words had awakened something in her that years of cruelty hadn't quite managed to kill. Hope. The Hotel Sinclair's ballroom glittered like a jewelry box come to life. Naomi watched from the service balcony, hidden behind heavy velvet curtains where staff monitored events without being seen. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing light across women in designer gowns and men in tailored suits worth more than most people's annual salaries. Vivian held court near the bar, surrounded by older Korean men in expensive watches. She changed into a white dress that looked almost bridal, her makeup perfect, her laugh timed for maximum charm. Uncle Marcus stood nearby, chest puffed with pride, already counting the commission he'd earn from whatever deal closed tonight. The Jade Syndicate representatives haven't arrived yet, whispered Maria, one of the housekeepers who'd been kind to Naomi over the years. She'd snuck up to the balcony during her break, bringing Naomi a plate of hors d'oeuvres she'd stolen from the catering station. Everyone's getting nervous. Apparently the head of their organization is notoriously unpredictable. Do you know what they're really here for? Naomi asked, accepting the food gratefully. She hadn't eaten since breakfast. Same thing these people always want. Power. Your uncle's been laundering money for them for years, but they want more. Legitimacy. An American connection that can't be easily traced. Marriage is the perfect cover. Maria shook her head. Poor girl who gets chosen. These arranged marriages are just prettier versions of slavery. Below, the string quartet stopped playing. The ballroom doors opened. 7 men entered. 6 wore identical black suits, moving with military precision. But it was the 7th man who made the entire room fall silent. He walked with the confidence of someone who'd never questioned his right to occupy space. Tall for a Korean man, maybe 6 feet, with sharp features and eyes that scanned the crowd like he was cataloging threats. His burgundy suit looked custom-made, the fabric catching the light with subtle shimmer. Even from the balcony, Naomi could see the thin scar across his left cheekbone. The dangerous beauty of a man comfortable with violence. That's Choi Min-jun, Maria breathed. I've only seen pictures. They say he runs the entire West Coast operation for the Korean Jade Syndicate. Billions in art theft, money laundering, weapons trafficking. And he's only 31. Naomi's breath caught. It was him. The wounded stranger from the kitchen, now standing in the ballroom like a king surveying his kingdom. The blood, the fear, the desperate escape. All of it had been real. She'd saved the life of one of the most dangerous men on the West Coast. Uncle Marcus rushed forward, hand extended. Mr. Choi, such an honor. We've prepared everything exactly as your organization requested. Min-jun didn't shake his hand. His eyes swept the room, pausing briefly on Vivian, then continuing without interest. I was told you had a suitable candidate for the arrangement my organization requires. My daughter, Vivian. Uncle Marcus gestured eagerly. Harvard-educated, fluent in 3 languages, accomplished pianist. She's been preparing for this opportunity. Vivian stepped forward, her smile calculated to perfection. She executed a small bow, just deep enough to show respect without appearing submissive. Mr. Choi, it's a privilege to meet you. I hope we can. No. The single word cut through the ballroom like a blade. Vivian's smile froze. I don't believe we've been properly introduced, she tried again, her voice tight. Perhaps if we spoke privately. I said no. Minyun chon to Uncle Marcus. This is your only candidate? Uncle Marcus's face went red. Sir, I assure you Vivian is exactly what your organization needs. Beautiful, educated, socially connected. She's also the woman who laughed at a homeless veteran in front of this hotel yesterday. I watched her refuse him a single dollar, while carrying a purse worth 5,000. Minjun's voice remained flat, emotionless. The Jade Syndicate needs someone who understands discretion and humanity. Your daughter understands neither. The room erupted in whispers. Vivian's face drained of color. Uncle Marcus sputtered protests, but Minjun had already turned away, his attention fixed on something across the room. No, not something. Someone. His eyes had found the service balcony. Found Naomi. You, he called out, his voice carrying easily across the stunned silence. Behind the curtain. Come down here. Naomi's heart stopped. Maria grabbed her arm. Don't. This is a trap. Men like him don't. But Naomi was already moving. Not because Minjun commanded it. Because every instinct in her body screamed that this moment, this impossible moment, was why she'd survived 8 years of cruelty under Uncle Marcus's roof. Why she'd kept her mother's bracelet hidden. Why she'd helped a bleeding stranger instead of calling for help. The ballroom stairs seemed endless. Every eye tracked her descent. She still wore her kitchen uniform, the fabric stained with grease and chemicals. Her hair was still wrapped in a scarf. She smelled like industrial cleaner and exhaustion. She looked nothing like the elegant women filling the room. She looked like exactly what she was. A girl who'd been told her entire life that she didn't belong. But when she reached the ballroom floor and met Minjun's eyes, she saw something that made her spine straighten. Recognition. Not of her face, but of something deeper. Something that couldn't be hidden by stained clothes or carefully cultivated invisibility. What's your name? He asked. Naomi. Naomi. He said it slowly, like testing the weight of syllables. You work in the kitchen. Yes. Why were you watching from the balcony instead of working? She could lie. Should lie. But something about the way he asked, genuinely curious rather than accusatory, made her tell the truth. Because I wanted to see what I was missing, even if I wasn't supposed to be part of it. And what did you see? People pretending to be something they're not. Selling themselves for power they don't actually want. Going through motions because that's what's expected. She paused. No one actually looks happy here. Minjun's lips curved into something that might have been a smile on someone less practiced at emotional control. You're very observant. I've had a lot of practice watching from corners. He turned to Uncle Marcus, who looked like he might have a stroke. This is my choice. Naomi will be the candidate for the arrangement. The ballroom exploded. Vivian screamed. Uncle Marcus grabbed Minjun's arm, then immediately released it when 2 bodyguards stepped forward. Maria gasped from the balcony. Naomi stood frozen, her mind refusing to process what she'd just heard. There must be some mistake, Uncle Marcus managed. Naomi is my niece, yes, but she's not suitable for. She saved my life today. Minjun's voice cut through the chaos. Without knowing who I was. Without asking for anything in return. That's worth more than Harvard degrees and piano performances. He looked at Naomi. You have a choice. You can return to your kitchen, continue living however you've been living. Or you can come with me. The arrangement isn't what you think. I need someone real, not someone performing reality. But the choice is yours. No one forces you. Naomi's throat closed. Behind Minjun, she could see Vivian's face twisted with rage. Uncle Marcus calculating whether he could still profit from this disaster. The other guests whispering, already spreading gossip that would follow her forever. And she thought about her mother, about jade bracelets passed through generations, about women who chose to be seen even when visibility meant danger. "I'll come with you," she heard herself say. "But I need to know, is this real? Or is this some kind of punishment for my family?" Mignon stepped closer. Close enough that she could see the exact shade of his eyes, dark brown with flecks of amber. Close enough to smell his cologne, expensive and understated. Close enough to see the truth in his face when he answered. "It's real. More real than anything else in this room." She believed him. God help her, she believed him. Minjun's car was a black Mercedes S-Class with windows tinted so dark that Naomi couldn't see outside once the door closed. 2 bodyguards sat in the front seat, silent as statues. She sat in the back next to Minjun, her kitchen uniform a stark contrast to the cream leather interior. They'd been driving for 10 minutes when she finally found her voice. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere we can talk without your family listening." Minjun hadn't looked at her since they left the hotel. He stared out his window, his profile sharp in the passing streetlights. Somewhere safe. Safe for who? That made him turn. "You think I'm dangerous to you? I think you're dangerous to everyone." Naomi kept her voice steady. "I also think you didn't choose me because I saved your life. Men like you don't make impulsive decisions. Men like me. Men who run criminal organizations worth billions. Men who walk into rooms and everyone goes silent. Men who..." She stopped, suddenly aware of the bodyguards in the front seat. Mignon leaned forward. "Pull over at the next overlook. Give us privacy." The car stopped at a scenic viewpoint overlooking the Pacific. The bodyguards exited without a word, taking positions far enough away to be out of earshot. Minjun opened his door, gesturing for Naomi to follow. The night air hit her like a slap. She'd been in the hotel's climate-controlled interior for so long she'd forgotten what real weather felt like. The ocean crashed against rocks below, white foam visible even in darkness. "You're right," Minjun said, standing at the railing. "I don't make impulsive decisions. But I also don't lie. You saved my life today when you had every reason not to. That matters." "Why were those men trying to kill you?" "Because I refused to marry someone else's choice of bride." He pulled out a cigarette, then paused, looking at her. "Do you mind?" She shook her head. He lit it, the flame briefly illuminating the scar on his cheekbone. "My organization, the Jade Syndicate, has been negotiating with a Russian group. They want to merge operations on the West Coast. Part of the deal was a marriage between me and the daughter of their leader. I said no. They sent men to change my mind." He exhaled smoke into the darkness. "Diplomacy through violence. It's the language our world speaks. And choosing me? That's your way of refusing them. Choosing you is my way of taking control of my own life." He turned to face her fully. "The arrangement I need is simple. A wife who can appear at public events, make my operations look legitimate to American authorities, help me build connections in circles where I'm seen as foreign danger. In return, you get out from under your uncle's roof. Financial security. Freedom to pursue whatever you want." "That sounds like I'm being bought." "You're being offered a partnership." His eyes held hers. "I won't touch you without permission. Won't force you into anything beyond public appearances. This can be purely business. But I need someone I can trust not to sell me out to rivals or federal agents. Someone who understands what it means to survive in a hostile environment." Naomi processed this. "You think I understand because my family treats me like unpaid labor. I think you understand because you're still standing after 8 years of it. That takes strength most people don't have." He crushed the cigarette under his shoe. "But I need to know something. The bracelet you're wearing. Where did you get it?" Instinctively, Naomi's hand went to her wrist. "My mother. She said it was a family heirloom." "May I see it?" She hesitated, then held out her arm. Minjun didn't touch her. He leaned close, examining the jade carefully. In the moonlight, she could see his expression change. Surprise, recognition, something almost like reverence. "This is Qing Dynasty jade. 17th century, possibly earlier. It's not just valuable, it's historically significant." He straightened. "Your mother, what was her name?" "Naomi Okafor." "Why, Okafor?" He repeated the name slowly. Nigerian. My grandfather emigrated in the 60s. My mother was born here, but she kept the name. Naomi pulled her arm back. What does this have to do with anything? Minjun walked to the edge of the overlook, his back to her. When he spoke again, his voice carried a weight she hadn't heard before. 20 years ago, the Jade Syndicate commissioned a theft. A private collection in New York, owned by a Chinese-American family, who'd acquired pieces through questionable means during the Cultural Revolution. My father led the operation. They recovered most of the collection, but one piece went missing. A jade bracelet exactly like the one you're wearing. Naomi's blood went cold. You're saying my mother stole it? I'm saying your mother might have been part of the operation. Or she was given it by someone who was. He turned back to her. The Jade Syndicate doesn't forget debts, Naomi. If your mother had a piece from that collection, she either stole it from us, or someone in our organization gave it to her. Either way, there's a connection between your family and mine that goes back decades. That's impossible. My mother was a nurse. She worked at Presbyterian Hospital. She didn't. People aren't always what they seem. Minun's voice softened. I'm not accusing her of anything. I'm telling you there's more to your story than you know. And that bracelet? It might be the reason your family has treated you the way they have. If your uncle knows what it is, knows its value, he's been waiting for the right time to take it. Naomi's mind raced. She thought about all the times Vivian had tried to borrow the bracelet. All the times Uncle Marcus had suggested she keep it somewhere safe, meaning in his safe. The way Aunt Patricia's eyes always lingered on it with something that looked like fear. I don't understand any of this. Neither do I. Not yet. Minjun pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. But I have resources. I can find out who your mother really was, what her connection to the syndicate was, and why she gave you a piece of stolen imperial jade. And if she did steal it, if she was a criminal, then she was a criminal who loved you enough to give you something worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. That matters more than whatever else she might have done. He finished typing, pocketing the phone. The question is, do you want to know the truth? Even if it changes everything you thought you knew about your family? Naomi looked out at the ocean. Waves crashed in eternal rhythm, indifferent to human complications. She thought about her mother's stories. About women who survived impossible circumstances. About jade bracelets passed through generations. Yes, she said finally. I want the truth. Then we have a deal. I'll find out what happened 20 years ago. You'll stand beside me at public events and help legitimize my operations. And we'll both get something we need, answers and freedom. He held out his hand. Not to shake. To help her back into the car. She took it. His palm was warm, calloused in unexpected places. The hand of someone who'd worked with his hands before commanding empires. One more thing, Naomi said before releasing his hand. Why do you paint? Minun froze. What? In the kitchen. When you were bleeding. I saw paint under your fingernails. Burnt sienna, I think. Maybe raw umber. You're an artist. For the first time, she saw genuine emotion cross his face. Surprise. Vulnerability. Something almost like shame. How did you? My mother painted. I grew up learning to recognize pigments. Naomi smiled slightly. You hide it. But not well enough. Minjun studied her like she was a puzzle he hadn't expected to encounter. You're more observant than I gave you credit for. People who grow up invisible learn to see things others miss. She climbed back into the car. It's the only advantage we get. As they drove back toward the city, Naomi caught Minjun watching her reflection in the window. Not with suspicion. With something closer to recognition. Like he'd been looking for someone exactly like her, and hadn't known it until this moment. Naomi woke in a bedroom larger than the entire kitchen she'd slept in at Uncle Marcus's hotel. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked downtown Los Angeles, the city sprawling beneath her like a circuit board of light. The bed was California king, the sheets Egyptian cotton with a thread count higher than her former weekly salary. She'd been in Minjun's penthouse for 3 days. 3 days of silence, luxury, and careful distance. A knock at the door. Miss Okafor? Breakfast is ready. Jin-soo, Minjun's head of security, spoke English with barely any accent. He was the only member of Minjun's inner circle who'd been friendly, explaining the penthouse's layout, the house rules, the schedule of events Naomi would be expected to attend. She dressed in clothes that had appeared in her closet overnight. Expensive, tailored, exactly her size. Someone had measured her without her noticing. The thought should have been creepy. Instead, it was just efficient. Minjun sat at a dining table that could seat 12, reading a Korean newspaper. He changed from his burgundy suit into casual clothes, black pants, white shirt with sleeves rolled to reveal surprisingly muscular forearms. The phoenix tattoo she'd glimpsed when his torn shirt had gaped in the kitchen now peeked above his collar. "You slept well?" he asked without looking up, like someone who hasn't slept in a real bed in 8 years. That made him glance up. "Your uncle made you sleep in the kitchen?" "Storage room off the kitchen. It had a cot." Naomi sat across from him, eyeing the spread, fresh fruit, pastries, eggs prepared 3 different ways. "This is more food than I'd see in a week." Minjun folded his newspaper. "Eat whatever you want. Jinsu will make sure the kitchen is always stocked with your preferences." "I don't know what my preferences are. I've been eating leftovers and scraps for most of my adult life." Something flickered across his face. Anger maybe, or recognition of a cruelty he understood too well. "Then we'll figure them out together. Try everything. Keep what you like." It was such a simple kindness that Naomi felt tears threaten. She blinked them back, reaching for a croissant instead. "We have an event tonight," Minjun continued. "Private auction at the Getty Villa. High-profile collectors, including several people I need to maintain relationships with. You'll need to be there as my fiancé." The word hit her like cold water. Fiancé. The cover story. "We're engaged, planning a wedding in 6 months. It explains why you're living here, why you'll be at my events, why you chose a nobody from your business associate's kitchen." Naomi's voice came out sharper than intended. Minjun set down his coffee cup. "I chose someone who saved my life without expecting anything in return. Someone who sees things other people miss. Someone who," he stopped, seeming to reconsider his words. "Someone real in a world of performances." "And the truth? About the jade bracelet, about my mother?" "My people are still investigating. Your mother's trail went cold about 15 years ago, right before she married your father. It's like she erased her past deliberately." He pulled out his phone, swiping through images. "But I found this." He showed her a photograph, grainy, clearly from the 90s. A young black woman stood next to an Asian man in his 50s, both dressed formally, both smiling like they shared a secret. The woman wore Naomi's jade bracelet. "That's my mother," Naomi breathed. "Who's the man?" "My father. Choi Dae-young." Minjun's voice went flat. This was taken at a Jade Syndicate event in 1998, 6 months before the Jade Collection theft. The implications crashed over Naomi like a wave. They knew each other. "My mother and your father." More than knew. The way they're standing, the familiarity, they were close. Possibly very close. He took the phone back. "My father died 10 years ago. Heart attack." He never mentioned knowing an African-American woman named Naomi Okafor. Which means whatever their relationship was, he kept it secret even from family. Why would he do that? Because the Jade Syndicate is traditional. Old-world Korean crime family with strict rules about bloodlines, loyalty, acceptable partnerships. A relationship with an outsider, especially a black American woman, would have been. He paused, choosing words carefully. Problematic. Naomi processed this. "You think they were together? My mother and your father?" "I think it's possible. I think it might explain why she had the jade bracelet, a gift rather than theft, and why she disappeared from his life completely. He may have been forced to choose between her and his position in the organization. And he chose power. Or he chose to protect her." Minjun's eyes met hers. The Jade Syndicate doesn't tolerate betrayal. If their relationship was discovered, she would have been in danger. Disappearing, erasing her past, starting over. That might have been survival, not abandonment. Naomi's throat tightened. Her whole life, she'd thought her mother was just a nurse who'd married a Nigerian immigrant and died too young. The possibility that she'd been connected to organized crime, that she'd loved and been loved by someone dangerous, that she'd built an entirely new identity to survive, it rewrote everything. "There's more," Minjun said quietly. My father left instructions in his will. Sealed documents that were only to be opened if certain conditions were met. One of those conditions, a Black American woman presenting a specific jade bracelet from the Qing dynasty collection. Naomi's hand went to her wrist. He was waiting for me, or for your mother, but she died 8 years ago, which means the condition transferred to me. Naomi stood abruptly, the chair scraping against marble. What's in the documents? I don't know. They're in a secure location, and I haven't met the conditions for opening them yet. But tonight's event, there will be someone there who knew my father well. Someone who might have answers about his relationship with your mother. Who? Before Minjun could answer, Jinsu appeared in the doorway, his expression tight. Sir, we have a situation. Vivian Carmichael is downstairs demanding to see Naomi. Naomi's stomach dropped. How did she find this place? Your uncle has connections, Minjun said, standing. Jinsu, bring her up. But keep security close. Sir, are you sure? She's family. Toxic family, but family. Naomi deserves the chance to face her on equal ground for once. 5 minutes later, Vivian swept into the penthouse like she owned it. She wore designer everything, Chanel suit, Hermes bag, Cartier jewelry. But her eyes were red-rimmed, her makeup couldn't quite hide the exhaustion, and her hands shook slightly as she clutched her purse. Well. She looked around the penthouse with naked envy. You've certainly landed on your feet, cousin. From kitchen rat to Mafia princess in 3 days. Impressive. What do you want, Vivian? Naomi kept her voice level. What I want is what was stolen from me. Vivian's composure cracked. That should have been my life. My engagement. My penthouse. You had no right. I had every right. Minjun interrupted, his voice cold. This isn't your concern. Oh, but it is. Vivian smiled, sharp and dangerous. Because I know things about Naomi that you don't. Things that might change how you see your precious fiancé. Such as. Minjun's tone suggested boredom, but Naomi saw his jaw tighten. Such as the fact that her mother was a convicted felon. Arrested in 1999 for art theft, did 2 years in federal prison. Got out and changed her name legally to hide her record. Vivian pulled papers from her purse, slapping them on the dining table. My father did a background check after you chose her. Thought you might want to know the truth about the woman you're planning to marry. Naomi reached for the papers with numb fingers. Official court documents. Arrest records. Her mother's mugshot, dated June 1999. The art theft she was convicted for? Vivian's smile turned vicious. A collection of Chinese jade stolen from a private collector in New York. The exact collection your father's organization was investigating at the time, Mr. Choi. Seems like the Okafor women have a pattern of taking things that don't belong to them. The room tilted. Naomi gripped the edge of the table, her vision blurring. Her mother hadn't just known Minjun's father. She'd been arrested for stealing from him. Had gone to prison. Had rebuilt her entire life around that secret. Get out, Minjun said quietly. Excuse me. I said get out. Before I have Jinsu remove you forcibly. Vivian gathered her purse, but her smile remained. You're making a mistake, Mr. Choi. But I suppose criminals recognize their own kind. Enjoy your stolen jade and your convict's daughter. You deserve each other. After she left, silence filled the penthouse like flood water. Naomi still held the arrest records, her mother's face staring up at her from 25 years ago. Defiant, beautiful, unrepentant. She was in prison when I was born, Naomi whispered. I was born in a hospital, but she was already out by then. Which means, she was pregnant when she was arrested. Minjun took the papers gently from her hands. Probably why she only served 2 years instead of 10. You knew she was convicted. I suspected. The timeline made sense. He met her eyes. But it doesn't change anything. It changes everything. My mother was a criminal who stole from your family. I'm living in your home wearing a bracelet she stole from. She didn't steal it. Minjun's voice cut through her spiral. The bracelet never appeared in evidence. It wasn't recovered by authorities. Which means she had it before the arrest, or she kept it hidden even through prison. Either way, it was hers. Given to her by someone who loved her enough to risk everything. Your father? Yes. And now I understand why the sealed documents exist. Why he left instructions. Minunes expression solvent. Your mother did go to prison. She did steal jade. But she also protected someone, probably my father, by never revealing his involvement. She took the fall alone. That's not theft. That's sacrifice. Naomi wanted to believe him. Wanted to see her mother as a hero instead of a criminal. But the weight of secrets, lies, and stolen jade pressed down until she could barely breathe. Tonight's event, she managed. I can't go. Not after. Tonight's event is more important than ever. Because the person who knew my father best? The one with answers.
Minun put her to her filtjenslig.
She's the one who turned your mother into federal authorities 25 years ago. And she's been waiting to meet you ever since. The Getty Villa looked like ancient Rome transported to the California coast. White marble columns, manicured gardens, and views of the Pacific that cost more than most people's homes. Naomi had seen it in movies, never imagined she'd walk through its bronze doors wearing a dress that cost 5 figures. The gown Minjun's stylist had chosen was midnight blue silk that moved like water, cut to show her shoulders, and the jade bracelet that suddenly felt like a brand. Her natural hair had been styled into an elegant updo, her makeup subtle but transformative. When she'd looked in the mirror, she'd seen her mother's face staring back, the woman from the mugshot, but softer, less haunted. You ready? Minjun appeared beside her, devastating in a black tuxedo that made the burgundy suit look casual by comparison. His phoenix tattoo was hidden tonight, but she could see the edge of Roman numerals on his left wrist where his cufflink didn't quite cover them. No. Naomi adjusted her clutch. But I'll pretend I am. Good. That's all anyone here does anyway. He offered his arm. The woman we're meeting is named Margaret Zhang. She was my father's business partner for 30 years. She's also the one who provided federal authorities with the evidence that led to your mother's arrest. So she destroyed my mother's life. Or she saved it. We won't know until we ask. Minjun guided her through the entrance, past security that nodded respectfully at his approach. Margaret doesn't grant audiences often. She's semi-retired, lives in Hong Kong, only comes to Los Angeles for specific events. Tonight's auction features a piece she's been searching for since the original theft. A jade seal from the same collection your mother was convicted of stealing. You think my mother has it? I think Margaret thinks she does. And I think Margaret is about to make a move to get it back. That's why she agreed to meet you. She wants to see if you know anything about your mother's final years. They entered the auction hall, a converted gallery space filled with the kind of people who bought politicians and countries, not just art. Naomi recognized faces from magazines. Tech billionaires, media moguls, an actual Saudi prince. Vivian would have killed to be in this room. The thought of her cousin made Naomi's jaw tighten. The arrest records Vivian had brought felt like they were burning a hole in her clutch. Mr. Choi. A woman's voice, accented English over Korean bass tones. Right on time as always. Margaret Zhang looked like someone who'd learned to weaponize age instead of fight it. 70 if she was a day, with silver hair cut in a sharp bob and a black suit that probably cost more than Naomi's entire outfit. Her eyes were sharp, missing nothing as they swept over Naomi from head to toe. So this is her. Naomi Okafor's daughter. Margaret stepped closer, reaching out to touch the jade bracelet without asking permission. My God, she really gave it to you. Even from prison. Naomi pulled her wrist back. You sent my mother to prison. I gave federal authorities information about a theft. Your mother chose to participate in that theft. I didn't destroy her life, she risked it herself. Margaret's tone held no apology. And now here you are, wearing evidence of that crime like it's an heirloom. Do you even know what that bracelet is worth? Emotionally? Everything. Financially? I don't care. You should care. It's worth approximately $8 million. More if sold to the right collector. Margaret gestured to a gallery attendant, who brought champagne none of them had requested. That makes you a walking target for every art thief and organized crime group on 3 continents. Choi Minjun bringing you here is either brilliant protection or incredible recklessness. I haven't decided which. Minjun accepted champagne but didn't drink. You said you had information about my father's relationship with Naomi's mother. That's why we're here. Straight to business. Just like Dae-young. Margaret's expression softened slightly. Yes, I knew about their affair. I was the one who told him it had to end. The syndicate was already investigating the collection theft when we discovered his involvement with her. She was a paralegal working for the firm that insured the collection. Perfect position to provide inside information about security, transportation, everything we needed. Naomi's breath caught. She was part of the theft operation? She was in love with a man who ran a criminal empire. She chose to help him steal pieces her firm was protecting. Love makes people do catastrophically stupid things. Margaret sipped her champagne. But then she got pregnant. With you. And Dae-young faced a choice: bring a half-black child into the syndicate, admit his relationship, face potential exile from his own organization, or cut ties, let her take the fall for the theft and protect his position. He chose power, Naomi said, the words tasting like ash. He chose survival. And so did your mother. The deal was simple. She would take the conviction, serve minimal time because of her pregnancy, and in exchange, Dae-young would ensure you were both protected financially for life. He set up trusts, accounts in your mother's name under her new identity. He paid for everything, her legal fees, her medical care, your education if she'd ever asked for it. She never did, Naomi whispered. She worked as a nurse until she died. We had nothing. Margaret's expression shifted, surprise, then understanding. She never touched the money. Pride probably. Or fear that using it would put you at risk. Naomi Okafor was many things, but she was a devoted mother first. Everything she did was to keep you safe from the world she'd been part of. The auction bell chimed. Around them, guests began moving toward the display hall where items would be presented. But Naomi couldn't move. The weight of her mother's sacrifices, her secrets, her choices, it crushed the air from her lungs. The sealed documents my father left, Minjun said. The ones that require Naomi to present the jade bracelet. What's in them? Margaret smiled, and it was not kind. That's between Naomi and whatever Dae-young wanted her to know. But I can tell you this. The jade seal being auctioned tonight? It was never stolen. Dae-young kept it. Hid it. Left instructions for it to be returned to circulation only after specific conditions were met. Conditions that, apparently, have now been satisfied. She gestured toward the auction hall. You might want to see what happens next. It's why I agreed to this meeting. The past is about to become very present. They followed Margaret into the hall, Naomi's heart hammering against her ribs. The auction had already started. Paintings, sculptures, ancient artifacts paraded before bidders who showed emotion only through paddle raises. Then the jade seal appeared on the display screen. It was breathtaking. White jade carved with dragon motifs, about the size of a fist, glowing under museum lights like it held its own luminescence. The auctioneer's voice described its provenance, its age, its cultural significance. What he didn't say. This was the piece that had started everything. The theft that destroyed Naomi's mother. The secret that killed Minjun's father. The artifact that connected their families across decades of silence. The starting bid is $5 million. The auctioneer announced. Paddles raised immediately. 6 million. 7. 8. The price climbed like a rocket. Minjun raised his paddle. 15 million. The room went silent. Margaret Zhang smiled. Sold to Mr. Choi Minjun for $15 million. As applause rippled through the hall, Minjun leaned close to Naomi's ear. The seal has a hidden compartment. My father told me about it once when I was a child. He said it held the truth about the greatest love of his life. Naomi's vision blurred. You think? I think your mother hid something inside it before the theft. Something my father preserved all these years. Something that will answer every question we have. Margaret appeared beside them, her expression unreadable. Congratulations on your purchase, Mr. Choi. You'll want to open it privately, I think. What's inside isn't for public consumption. You know what it is. I know enough to understand that some truths are more dangerous than lies. And some love stories don't get happy endings, they just get endings. She looked at Naomi. Your mother was braver than you know, stronger than she had any right to be, and she loved you more than she loved herself, which is the only kind of love that matters. Then Margaret Zhang walked away, disappearing into the crowd like smoke. Naomi's hand found Minjun's. She didn't remember reaching for him, but suddenly his fingers were threaded through hers, warm and solid. Whatever's in that seal, she said quietly. It might change everything between us. I know. You might find out things about your father that. I know. He squeezed her hand. But we're going to open it anyway. Because living with questions is worse than living with answers, no matter how painful they are. The auction continued around them, millions of dollars changing hands for objects that would gather dust in private collections. But Naomi only saw the jade seal being carefully wrapped, prepared for transport to Minjun's secure facility. Inside that seal was the truth. About her mother. About his father. About the choices that had led to this moment. Two children of star-crossed lovers, standing in a room full of stolen beauty, trying to piece together a past that everyone had tried to bury. Minjun's secure facility was nothing like Naomi expected. Not a warehouse or vault, but a converted artist's studio in downtown LA, filled with easels, half-finished paintings, and the smell of oil and turpentine. This was where he painted, where the ruthless mafia boss became someone else entirely. I didn't know you had a studio, Naomi said, running her fingers along a canvas depicting the Han River at sunset. The details so precise it looked like a photograph. No one does. Jinsu knows the location, but even he's never been inside. Minjun moved through the space with a familiarity that spoke of countless hours spent here. This is where I come when the other life gets too heavy. He set the wrapped jade seal on a work table, but didn't immediately unwrap it. Instead, he poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a bottle that looked older than both of them combined. We should have something strong before we do this, he said, handing her a glass. Whatever's inside, it's going to hurt. Truths usually do. Naomi accepted the whiskey, but didn't drink. Can I ask you something first? Why did you really choose me at the hotel? And don't say it was just because I saved your life or because I'm real. There are plenty of real people in the world who don't come with my particular baggage. Minjun was quiet for a long moment. He stared at his whiskey, then at the painting of the Han River, then finally at her. Because when you looked at me in that kitchen, bleeding and desperate, you didn't see a mafia boss or a valuable connection or someone who could give you a better life. You saw someone who needed help. That's the rarest thing in my world. Being seen as human instead of useful. He finally drank, the whiskey disappearing in one swallow. And because the moment I saw your mother's picture with my father, I knew. Our families have been connected for decades. Finding you wasn't random. It was inevitable. Fate. Karma maybe. My father made choices that destroyed your mother's life. Maybe choosing you is my way of making that right. Or maybe, Naomi said softly, you're just lonely. And you saw someone who understands what it's like to be powerful in all the wrong ways and powerless in all the ways that matter. His eyes met hers, and for the first time, she saw past the careful control. Saw the man underneath the armor. Saw someone who'd spent 31 years building walls so high he'd forgotten what it felt like to be vulnerable. Maybe that too, he admitted. He unwrapped the jade seal carefully, reverent. In the studio's soft lighting, it looked even more beautiful than it had at the auction. The dragons carved into its surface seemed to move, their scales catching light like water. Minjun turned it over, his fingers finding the hidden mechanism his father had told him about. A tiny indentation barely visible. He pressed it. The base of the seal slid open. Inside was a small waterproof pouch. Minjun hesitated, then handed it to Naomi. You should be the one to open it. Whatever's inside. It's about your mother. You deserve to see it first. Naomi's hands shook as she opened the pouch. Inside were 3 items. A letter on paper that had yellowed with age, a photograph, and a small USB drive. The photograph made her gasp. Her mother, maybe 25, visibly pregnant, standing in this exact studio. Behind her, partially visible in the mirror, was Choi Dae-young. He had his hand on her shoulder, his expression tender in a way that made Naomi's heart crack. She was here, she whispered. In your studio. This was my father's studio first. He painted too. He's the one who taught me. Minjun's voice was rough. I had no idea he'd brought her here. This was always his most private space. Naomi unfolded the letter. The handwriting was elegant, masculine, Korean characters she couldn't read mixed with English. Minjun took it gently. I'll translate. He read aloud, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. My dearest Naomi, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and our daughter has found her way to my son. I've planned for this possibility, hoping that perhaps the children we couldn't raise together might find each other, might heal what we broke. I loved you more than honor, more than duty, more than the organization that gave me power, but demanded I sacrifice everything beautiful in my life. When you told me you were pregnant, I was the happiest and most terrified I'd ever been. A child, our child. In a world that would never accept her. I made the wrong choice. I let you take the conviction alone. I let you go to prison carrying my daughter while I remained free. I told myself it was to protect you both, that the syndicate would kill you if they knew the truth, that temporary separation was better than permanent danger. But the truth is simpler and more shameful. I was a coward. I chose my position over your freedom, and I've regretted it every day since. The money I set aside for you. I know you'll never use it. Your pride is what I loved most about you. So I'm leaving it for our daughter instead. The sealed accounts, the trust funds, everything I've built, half belongs to her. Not because she's my blood, but because she's yours. The jade bracelet you wore was my mother's. I gave it to you the night we decided to attempt the theft together. You said you felt like a thief stealing my heart. I said you already had it. Might as well have the jade too. I thought I was being romantic. I was just being reckless. I'm sorry I never found the courage to claim you publicly. I'm sorry our daughter will never know her father. I'm sorry for everything except loving you. That, I'll never regret. Tell her about me if you want. Or let me remain a ghost. But please, give her the choice I never gave you. The choice to be seen, chosen, loved for exactly who she is. Forever yours. Ding. Silence filled the studio. Naomi's tears fell on the letter, smudging ink that had survived 25 years in darkness. Minjun's face was unreadable, but his hands gripped the paper like it was the only thing keeping him upright. He loved her, Naomi finally said. He actually loved her. And destroyed her anyway. Because love without courage is just beautiful weakness. Minjun set the letter down carefully. My father built an empire but couldn't protect the woman he loved. What does that say about him? That he was human, flawed, capable of both great love and great failure. Naomi picked up the USB drive. What do you think is on this? Only one way to find out. Minjun's laptop was password protected with encryption that looked military grade. He plugged in the USB drive, and a single folder appeared. For my daughter. Inside were video files. Dozens of them, dated from 1999 to 2009. 10 years of recordings. Minjun opened the first one. The screen filled with Choi Dae-young's face. Younger, less scarred, but unmistakably Minjun's father. He sat in this studio, at this same table, speaking directly to the camera. Naomi, my daughter. I'm recording this on your first birthday. Your mother is in prison because of my choices. You're being raised by her sister. I made sure she received enough money to care for you properly, though I know it won't make up for your mother's absence. He paused, running a hand through his hair. The gesture was identical to one Naomi had seen Minjun make 100 times. I hope someday you'll see these. Hope you'll understand that your mother was the bravest person I ever knew. She went to prison to protect both of us, you and me. She could have named me as her accomplice, gotten a reduced sentence, destroyed my organization. She chose silence instead. Chose to protect the father you'll never know. The video cut off. Minjun opened another, this one dated 2003. You're 5 years old now. I hired a private investigator to send me photos. You look so much like her. Same eyes, same smile. I want to meet you so badly it physically hurts. But I can't. The syndicate has enemies who would use you against me. Your invisibility is your protection. Another video. 2007. You're 9. Your mother was released from prison 2 years ago. I've been watching from a distance, making sure she's safe, that you're both safe. She married a good man, your stepfather. Nigerian immigrant, works in hospital administration. He doesn't know about me, about any of this. That's better. You deserve a normal family. The videos continued. Year after year of a father watching his daughter grow up through photographs and investigator reports. Never meeting her. never even speaking to her. Just loving her from a distance, documenting that love in recordings she might never see. The final video was dated 2009. Dae-young looked older, tired. Sick maybe. You're 11. Your mother died in a car accident 3 months ago. I'm sorry I couldn't protect her from that. I can control criminal empires but not drunk drivers or random chance. His voice broke. You're living with her brother now. Marcus Okafor. I've looked into him. He's not a good man. But your stepfather died last year, and there's no one else. He leaned closer to the camera. I'm setting up the conditions for you to find these videos. The jade bracelet, my mother's bracelet that I gave your mother, will be the key. When you present it, when you're old enough to ask questions, my son will help you. He doesn't know about you yet, but he will. And I hope, God, I hope, that he'll be a better man than I was. That he'll choose courage when I chose cowardice. Dae-young wiped his eyes. I'm going to die soon. Heart condition the doctors say is genetic. Maybe it's karma instead. But before I go, I want you to know, you were wanted. You were loved. Your mother and I may have failed in every other way, but we succeeded in creating you. And that's the best thing either of us ever did. The video ended. Naomi couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't process the magnitude of what she'd just watched. 10 years of a father's love, documented in secret, preserved in jade, waiting for the daughter he never got to meet. Minjun's face was wet. He didn't bother hiding it. He never told me, he said hoarsely. Never said a word about having another child. About you. I thought I knew him. Thought I understood his life. But this whole other family, this love story, this daughter. He kept it all hidden even from me. He was protecting me, like my mother did. Naomi touched the screen where Dae-young's face was frozen. They both chose my safety over their own happiness, over their own truth. And now here we are, his children, trying to figure out what to do with all these secrets. Minjun closed the laptop. The money he mentioned, the sealed accounts and trust funds, they're real. I've been managing them since he died, not knowing who they were meant for. They're worth approximately $300 million. The number didn't compute. Naomi stared at him, waiting for the punchline. You're a multimillionaire, Naomi. Have been since you were born. Your mother just never told you. Never used a single dollar. She let you both struggle instead of admitting where the money came from. Because using it would mean admitting what she'd done. Who she'd been. Who I was. Naomi stood abruptly, needing space, needing air. I'm the daughter of a convicted art thief and a Korean mafia boss. I'm the secret that destroyed 2 lives. You're my sister. The words stopped her cold. Minjun stood too, his face ravaged by emotion he usually kept locked away. Half-sister, technically. But still. We share a father. The same blood runs through both of us. Criminal blood, legacy blood, blood that comes with obligations and dangers we didn't choose. He laughed, the sound broken. I thought choosing you at the hotel was about attraction. About partnership. But maybe I knew. Maybe I recognized something in you that I couldn't name. Family. Naomi's world tilted. Everything she thought she understood about Minjun's choice, about her position in his life, about the future they'd been building. It all shattered and reformed into something completely different. We can't get married, she said flatly. Obviously. Obviously. He ran his hands through his hair, that gesture of his father's. But the cover story is already out there. My organization thinks you're my fiancé. Your uncle thinks you're going to be my wife. We can't just tell them the truth, that we're actually siblings, that this whole thing was based on a cosmic joke. Naomi laughed, and it sounded hysterical even to her own ears. That'll go over well. Minjun paced the studio, his mind clearly racing through scenarios and solutions. We keep the cover story for now. Long enough to figure out what to do with your inheritance, how to keep you safe from people who'll come after that money. Then we transition the narrative. Failed engagement, amicable split, whatever. You keep your financial security, I keep my organization stable. And then what? I just disappear back into normal life? Pretend I never found out any of this. You build whatever life you want. With $300 million, you can build anything. He stopped pacing. You can fund charities, start businesses, travel the world, get 12 PhDs. Whatever makes you happy. That's what our father wanted. For you to have choices. Our father. The words felt strange. Naomi had never had a father, not really. Her stepfather had been kind but distant. Uncle Marcus was a tyrant. But Choi Dae-young, a man she'd never met, who died when she was 13, had loved her enough to build her an empire in secret. I don't know how to be rich, she said quietly. Neither did I at first. It's a skill like any other. You'll learn. Minjun pulled out his phone. I'll have my lawyers start the process of transferring the accounts into your name. It'll take a few weeks, but... Wait. Naomi grabbed his wrist. What about you? You just found out your father had a whole secret family. That he lied to you for your entire life. You're not okay. His careful mask slipped. Underneath was pain so raw it made her chest ache. I'm never okay. I just hide it better than most people. He pulled his wrist free gently. But you're right. I'm not processing this well. My father, the man I built my entire identity around, the man I've spent 10 years trying to live up to, he kept the most important thing in his life secret from me. That says something about either his trust in me or his shame about you. Either way it hurts. For what it's worth, Naomi said softly, I think he kept it secret to protect us both. Not because he didn't trust you, but because he knew the syndicate would never accept me. Telling you would have forced you to choose your sister or your position. He didn't want you to make the same impossible choice he made.
Minyoon nodded slowly.
Maybe. Or maybe he just couldn't face the disappointment in my eyes when I learned he'd abandoned a child. We'll never know. That's the problem with secrets. They die with the people who keep them, and we're left guessing at motivations. A phone buzzed. Minyoon. He checked it, his expression darkening. Jinsu. Vivian is at the penthouse. She brought someone with her, federal agents. They're asking questions about the Jade Seal purchase, about your mother's conviction, about... He stopped reading, his jaw tight. They have a warrant. For the bracelet. Naomi's hand flew to her wrist. What? Vivian told them about the arrest records. Claimed the bracelet is stolen property from the original 1998 theft. The agents want to seize it as evidence. Minjun was already moving toward the door. We need to go. Now. But it's not stolen. Your father gave it to my mother. We can't prove that without revealing their relationship. Which means revealing you're my sister. Which means exposing secrets that could destroy both our lives. He grabbed her hand. Trust me. We run now, explain later. They ran. The safe house was in Koreatown, above a restaurant that Minjun's organization owned. Small apartment, 2 rooms, windows that overlooked a street market where elderly women sold vegetables and gossip in equal measure. Nothing like the penthouse. Everything like safety. Jinsu had gotten them out of the studio minutes before federal agents arrived with Vivian in tow. Now they sat at a small table, the jade bracelet between them like evidence at a trial. They can't prove it's stolen, Naomi said for the 5th time. There's no documentation linking this specific bracelet to the theft. Your mother's arrest record lists jade bracelet, Qing dynasty, dragon motif, as evidence that was never recovered. Jinsu had spread documents across the table. Legal files, FBI reports, photographs from the original investigation. If they test this bracelet and it matches the description, they can seize it pending investigation. That investigation could take years. Years I'd spend knowing federal agents are digging into my mother's past. Into my father's past. Naomi touched the bracelet. All because Vivian wants revenge. Minjun hadn't spoken since they arrived. He stood at the window, watching the street below with the intensity of someone expecting attack. Finally he turned. There's another option. We tell the truth. Jinsu's head snapped up. Sir, you can't possibly. Not the whole truth. Just enough. Minjun pulled a chair to the table, sitting across from Naomi. We tell federal agents that Choi Dae-young had a relationship with Naomi Okafor. That the bracelet was a gift before the theft, which makes it separate from the criminal activity. We provide the letter as proof of their relationship, the videos as evidence that he claimed you as his daughter. And reveal that I'm the illegitimate child of a crime boss? That'll definitely make the FBI back off. Naomi's laugh was bitter. Actually, Jin-soo said slowly. It might. The FBI doesn't care about family drama. They care about recovering stolen property. If we can prove the bracelet was given before the theft occurred, it's not stolen goods, it's a personal gift. Different legal category entirely. But proving when it was given means proving the relationship. Which means I confirm publicly that my father had a daughter I never knew about. Minjun's expression was unreadable. Which damages the syndicate's image, makes me look weak for not knowing my own family, and potentially puts you at risk from rivals who'll see you as leverage against me. Naomi processed this. You'd do that? Expose yourself, your organization, your father's secrets, all to protect a bracelet. Not a bracelet. You. His eyes held hers. You're my sister. Half my blood, all my responsibility now that I know you exist. The syndicate can survive scandal. You can't survive federal prosecution for possession of stolen property. I haven't done anything wrong. Neither had our mother when she went to prison. The system doesn't care about right and wrong. It cares about evidence and narratives. Minjun pulled out his phone. I'll call my lawyers. We'll arrange a meeting with the FBI, provide documentation of the relationship, hand over the videos as proof. In exchange, they drop any claims on the bracelet. And if they don't, then we fight. In court, in media, wherever necessary. But we fight together. That's what family does. Family. The word still felt strange. Naomi had spent 23 years believing she was alone. Orphaned, unwanted. Tolerated only because Uncle Marcus needed free labor. Now she had a brother. A criminal brother with billions and body counts. But still. Family. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her check. A text message. You have something that belongs to me. We should talk. Alone. Come to Pershing Square at midnight. Tell no one, or your uncle dies. Margaret Zhang. Naomi's blood went cold. She showed Minjun the message without speaking. His expression went deadly. She's threatening Marcus to get to you. Classic intimidation tactic. I don't care about my uncle. The words came out harsher than Naomi intended. But he's still family. Twisted, abusive family, but you're not the kind of person who lets people die when you can prevent it. Even people who've hurt you.
Mignon stood, already calculating.
It's a trap. Margaret wants either the bracelet or information about what was inside the jade seal. Probably both. She said come alone. You're not going alone. We'll have Jin-soo's team positioned around the square. You wear a wire. We listen to everything she says, move in if she threatens you directly. Minjun was already texting Jin-soo. Margaret Zhang is old school syndicate. She doesn't make empty threats. If she says she'll kill Marcus, she means it. Good, Naomi said flatly. Then seeing Minjun's expression. What? He let Vivian torture me for 8 years. He knew about the abuse and did nothing. He profited from my labor and gave me nothing. Why should I risk my life to save his? Because you're not him. You're better than the people who hurt you. That's the only revenge that matters.
Mignon's voice softened.
And because if you let Margaret kill him, you'll carry that guilt for the rest of your life. Trust me, I've made choices like that. They don't go away. The weight in his words made Naomi wonder what he'd done, who he'd failed to save, what ghosts followed him through penthouse halls and artist studios. But she didn't ask. Some secrets were earned through time and trust, not demanded. Fine. I'll meet her. But if she tries anything, she won't get the chance. My people are the best in the business. You'll be protected every second. They had 9 hours until midnight. 9 hours to plan, prepare, and figure out what Margaret Zhang wanted badly enough to threaten murder. Jin-soo returned with equipment, microphones disguised as jewelry, GPS trackers embedded in shoes, even a tiny camera in what looked like an ordinary coat button. Federal-grade surveillance tech. We'll hear and see everything. Naomi let them wire her, feeling like a spy in a movie she never auditioned for. The wire was cold against her skin, the tracker heavy in her shoe. But the weight was strangely comforting. Physical proof she wasn't alone. Margaret knew your father for 30 years, Jin-soo said, adjusting the camera angle. She was his partner, his confidant, possibly more. When he died, She expected to take over West Coast operations. Instead, the syndicate chose you, sir. She's resented that decision ever since. She thinks my father left her something in the jade seal, Minjun said. Probably thought the greatest love of his life referred to her, not to Naomi's mother. Finding out she was wrong. That he loved someone else more, that he had a daughter she never knew about. That would be a profound humiliation for someone like Margaret. So this isn't just about the bracelet or the seal. It's about pride. Naomi understood pride. She'd swallowed hers for 8 years to survive Uncle Marcus's house. She wants to know she mattered. That she wasn't just business to your father. Exactly. Which makes her dangerous. Wounded pride is more volatile than greed. Minjun checked his watch. We have 8 hours. Try to rest. You'll need to be sharp tonight. But Naomi couldn't rest. She lay on the safe house's narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about her mother. About how Naomi Okafor had gone to prison protecting 2 people, Dae-young and Naomi, had spent 2 years away from her infant daughter, so that daughter could grow up safe from criminal entanglements. And now here was Naomi, 23 years later, walking straight into those same entanglements, wearing the jade bracelet her mother had protected even through prison, meeting with the woman who destroyed her mother's freedom. The circle was completing itself. Or maybe just repeating. Naomi couldn't tell which. At 11:30, they moved out. Jinsu's team was already in position. 6 operatives positioned around Pershing Square, disguised as homeless people, late-night joggers, food truck operators. Invisible unless you knew where to look. Minjun walked Naomi to the edge of the square. Any sign of danger, any threat you can't talk yourself out of, you say the code word. We'll extract you in under 30 seconds. What's the code word? Phoenix. He touched her shoulder briefly. For what it's worth, you're one of the bravest people I've ever met. Our father would be proud. Our father abandoned me to protect his reputation. I'm not sure his pride is worth much. Maybe. But his love was real. The videos prove that. And love, real love, that's always worth something. He disappeared into shadows. Naomi walked into the square alone. Pershing Square at midnight was haunted. Empty fountains, dark trees, benches occupied by people sleeping off the day's struggles. Naomi's footsteps echoed on concrete, the wire cold against her ribs, the tracker heavy in her shoe. Margaret Zhang sat on a bench beneath a broken streetlight, feeding pigeons from a small paper bag. She didn't look up when Naomi approached. Sit, she said simply. Naomi sat, maintaining distance. You threatened my uncle. I made a promise. There's a difference. Margaret threw more seeds. Your uncle is fine. For now. Whether he stays fine depends on what you tell me in the next 10 minutes. What do you want to know? What was inside the jade seal? What Dae-young left for his daughter? Margaret finally looked at her, and her eyes were hard as the jade around Naomi's wrist. I need to know if he loved your mother more than he loved me. The raw vulnerability in that question shocked Naomi more than any threat could have. This wasn't about money or power. It was about a 70-year-old woman who'd spent 3 decades wondering if the man she loved had loved someone else more. Yes, Naomi said quietly. He did. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. The letter, the videos, everything. He called her the greatest love of his life. You were his partner. She was his heart. Margaret's hands stilled. Seeds scattered across concrete. A pigeon landed on the bench between them, pecking at Margaret's fingers with gentle persistence. I knew. Of course I knew. He got that distant look sometimes, like he was thinking about someone far away. And after your mother was arrested, he became obsessed with protection. Protecting you specifically. I thought it was guilt about sending her to prison. I didn't know he'd loved her. Margaret's voice cracked. 30 years I stood beside him. Built his empire, took his risks, kept his secrets. And he loved a woman he knew for maybe 2 years. How is that fair? It's not. Love isn't fair. It's just true or it's not. Naomi touched the bracelet. He cared about you. The way he wrote about you in his files. He trusted you more than anyone except my mother. That has to count for something. Trust and love are different countries. I lived in one. Your mother lived in the other. Margaret stood abruptly. The bracelet. I'm not going to try to take it. It's yours by right of birth and love. But I need you to understand that jade came from a collection that belonged to families. Families who were destroyed during the Cultural Revolution, who had their art stolen by the government, who spent generations trying to recover what was taken. Your father stole from thieves, yes. But the original theft was still theft. That bracelet represents pain and loss, not just love. I know. My mother went to prison for that pain and loss. And yet you wear it like it's innocent. Margaret's smile was sad. We're all wearing stolen things, Naomi. Stolen time, stolen chances, stolen lives. The question is whether we acknowledge the cost or pretend it doesn't exist. Behind them, Naomi heard footsteps. Minjun emerged from the shadows, Jinsu and two operatives flanking him. The conversation is over, Margaret, Minjun said coldly. You've said what you needed to say. Now leave my sister alone. Margaret looked between them, understanding dawning. Sister. My God. You actually told him. De-Young spent his whole life protecting that secret, and you just, she laughed, the sound broken. Maybe you are braver than your mother. Or maybe just more reckless. She walked away, disappearing into the darkness like she'd been made of it all along. Naomi sat on the bench, suddenly exhausted. The wire felt too tight. The tracker too heavy. The bracelet like a shackle.
Minjun sat beside her.
You okay? No. But I don't think I have been for a very long time. I'm just finally admitting it. She looked at him. Do you think she's right? That we're all wearing stolen things. I think we're all products of choices other people made before we were born. Our parents' choices, our grandparents' choices, centuries of theft and love and survival. We can't change that. We can only choose what we do with the legacy they left us. And what are we going to do? Minjun smiled. And it was the first time she'd seen him look genuinely at peace. We're going to build something better. Together. Because that's what family does. They take broken pieces and make something whole. Above them a pigeon cooed. The city hummed with late-night life. And for the first time in her 23 years, Naomi Okafor felt like she might actually belong somewhere. 3 days after the Pershing Square meeting, federal agents dropped their investigation. Minjun's lawyers had provided enough documentation of De-Young and Naomi Okafor's relationship to establish the bracelet as a pre-theft gift. The FBI closed the case, citing insufficient evidence for prosecution. Vivian sent 17 voicemails. Naomi deleted all of them without listening. Uncle Marcus sent a certified letter demanding Naomi return to work at the hotel. Minjun's lawyers responded with a cease and desist and documentation of 8 years of labor violations. Uncle Marcus went quiet after that. But the real reckoning came on a Tuesday morning, when Jinsu knocked on Naomi's bedroom door with news that made her stomach drop. Your cousin is downstairs. She says she needs to speak with you. She's alone and she's crying. Naomi almost said no. Almost told Jinsu to send Vivian away. But something in Jinsu's expression, pity maybe, or recognition of a different kind of pain, made her reconsider. 5 minutes. In the lobby. You stay within earshot. Vivian looked nothing like the polished, cruel woman from the hotel. Her hair was unwashed, her designer clothes wrinkled, her makeup smudged from tears. She sat on the lobby's leather couch like she'd collapsed there. All the fight gone out of her. Thank you for seeing me, she said without looking up. Naomi remained standing, arms crossed. You have 4 minutes left. My father cut me off. Said I embarrassed him by going to the FBI with family business. Said I made him look weak by exposing the labor violations, that now every employee is threatening lawsuits. Vivian's voice shook. He kicked me out. I have nothing. No money, no apartment, no credit cards. He said if I wanted to destroy the family, I could do it alone. Naomi felt nothing. No sympathy, no satisfaction. Just the flat recognition that karma was real and efficient. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm sorry. Vivian finally looked up, and her eyes were genuinely desperate. I'm sorry for everything. For how I treated you, for the years of cruelty, for trying to ruin your life with Minjun. I was jealous. I've been jealous since we were children because you were everything I wasn't. Naturally beautiful, genuinely kind, capable of real connection with people. And I hated you for it. So you tortured me for 8 years. Yes. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I'm just... Vivian's voice broke. I'm just telling you the truth because maybe if I'm honest for once in my life, I'll figure out how to survive this. Naomi sat down, not next to Vivian but close enough to see her face clearly. You want me to give you money? No. I mean... Vivian wiped her eyes. I don't expect anything from you. But I wanted you to know that I understand now. What it feels like to have nothing, to be nothing. You lived like that for years, and I never appreciated the strength it took just to keep existing. I'm sorry I couldn't see it before. For the first time in their entire relationship, Vivian sounded genuine. Not performing, not manipulating. Just broken. Where are you staying? Friend's couch. For now. She said I can stay a week, maybe 2. After that, Vivian shrugged. I'll figure it out. I always do. Naomi pulled out her phone, typed rapidly. Within seconds, Jin-soo appeared. Take Ms. Carmichael to the accounting office. Set her up with a stipend. $5,000 a month for 6 months. Enough to get an apartment, start over, figure out her life. Vivian's mouth fell open. Why would you? Because I'm not you. I don't destroy people just because they destroyed me. That's called a cycle. And cycles only end when someone chooses to break them. Naomi stood. 6 months, Vivian. Use it to become someone better than who you were. Or waste it, and end up exactly where you are now. Your choice. I don't understand. After everything I did. Neither do I. But my mother went to prison protecting people who didn't protect her. My father built an empire for a daughter he never met. I come from people who chose kindness even when it cost them everything. So that's what I choose too. Vivian started crying again, but these tears looked different. Cleaner maybe. Or just more honest. Jin-soo led her away. Naomi returned to the penthouse, where Min-jun was waiting with his lawyers and a stack of documents that looked important and intimidating in equal measure. Your inheritance is fully transferred, the lead lawyer said, adjusting expensive glasses. $300 million in various accounts, investments and properties. You're now one of the wealthiest women in California. The number still didn't feel real. Naomi stared at the documents. Her name, Naomi Okafor, listed as primary account holder, beneficiary owner. Proof that she existed not as someone's burden or servant, but as a person with value and power. There's one more thing, the lawyer continued. Your father, Choi Dae-young, left specific instructions that upon your 25th birthday or upon successful transfer of the inheritance, whichever came first, you'd receive a final letter. We're authorized to provide it now. He handed her an envelope. Heavy paper, expensive. Her name written in Dae-young's handwriting. Naomi opened it with shaking hands. My daughter, if you're reading this, you've claimed what's yours. The money, the truth, the legacy I couldn't give you while alive. I hope it brings you freedom, not burden. I've spent years imagining who you'd become. Brave like your mother. Strong like necessity demanded. Kind despite every reason to be cruel. I don't know if I'm right. I never got to meet you. But I hope you inherited the best of both of us and none of the worst. The Jade Syndicate will come for you eventually. Not because you're a threat, but because you're family. My blood in your veins makes you valuable to some, dangerous to others. Trust my son, your brother. He's more honorable than I ever was. He'll protect you if you let him. But more than protection, I hope you find purpose. I built an empire on theft and violence because I couldn't imagine another way to matter. You have resources now to matter in better ways. Build something beautiful. Help people who can't help themselves. Be the person I should have been. And forgive me if you can. I made every wrong choice except loving your mother. You're the proof that even failed men can create something perfect. Your father, Dae-young. Naomi folded the letter carefully, tucking it into her pocket. The lawyers continued talking about trusts and investments and tax implications, but she stopped listening. She thought about her mother, painting in a prison cell, dreaming of a daughter she couldn't touch. About her father, recording videos for a child he'd never meet, building an empire he hoped she'd never need. About Min-jun, discovering a sister in the last place he expected, choosing truth over convenient lies. And she thought about herself. About the girl who'd scrubbed ovens until her hands bled, who'd worn a jade bracelet as her only inheritance, who'd saved a bleeding stranger without knowing it would change everything. That girl was gone. Or maybe not gone, transformed. Made into someone who could hold $300 million without losing herself. Someone who could forgive her worst enemy. Someone who could choose kindness as a weapon against cruelty. What do you want to do first? Minjun asked after the lawyers left. Naomi looked at her brother, her actual family, blood-connected, legacy-bound. And she smiled. I want to start a foundation. For kids in situations like mine, orphaned, abused, trapped in families that treat them like property. I want to give them the resources to escape, to build new lives, to become who they're supposed to be instead of who survival forces them to be.
Minyoon nodded slowly.
That's good. Meaningful. Our father would approve. I don't care if he approves. I care that it's right. Naomi touched the bracelet. This jade came from theft and violence and broken families. I'm going to use the money it represents to heal broken families instead. That feels like the kind of justice my mother would understand. You're better than both of them. Better than all of us. Minjun's smile was genuine. I'm honored to be your brother. Even though it means you can never actually marry me? I know the engagement cover story would have been useful for your business. I'll survive. The syndicate will adapt. And honestly, he looked almost shy. Having a sister is better than having a fake wife. Family is the one thing my father's money could never buy. He had to create it through love. And now I have it through luck. A knock at the door. Jin Soo entered, expression urgent. Sir, Margaret Zhang is requesting a meeting. She says she has information about the Russian group that tried to kill you. Information that affects both you and Naomi.
Minyoon's expression hardened.
Where? The restaurant where your father proposed to her. The one he bought her before he ended their relationship. It's a power play. Meeting on her territory, reminding me that she has history with my father that I don't.
Minyoon looked at Naomi.
You don't have to go. This is syndicate business. I'm part of the syndicate now whether I want to be or not. Your blood, your legacy, your enemies, they're mine too. Naomi stood. Besides, Margaret and I have unfinished business. She needs to understand that I'm not my mother. I won't disappear quietly. They went to the restaurant together. It was high-end Korean, the kind of place where meals cost 4 figures and reservations were booked months in advance. Margaret had rented out the entire establishment. She sat at a corner table, tea steaming in front of her, looking like a queen holding court. Sit, she said without preamble. They sat.
Minyoon's bodyguards positioned themselves at exits.
Jin Soo remained standing, his hand near his concealed weapon. The Russians who tried to kill you, Margaret began looking at Minjun. They weren't acting alone. Someone in the Jade Syndicate gave them your location, your schedule, your vulnerabilities. Someone wanted you dead, so they could take over West Coast operations. Who? Minjun's voice was ice. Your uncle. Dae-young's younger brother. He's been consolidating power for months, waiting for the right opportunity to remove you. The Russian marriage proposal was bait. Refuse it and prove you're weak. Accept it and lose autonomy. Either way he wins. Naomi's blood chilled. More family politics. More violence disguised as business. Why are you telling me this?
Minyoon asked.
Because Dae-young asked me to protect his children if anything happened to him. Both his children. Margaret looked at Naomi. I may not have been his greatest love, but I was his most loyal friend. He knew that. He trusted that. And now I'm honoring that trust by warning you. Your uncle knows about Naomi. Knows she's Dae-young's daughter. And he sees her $300 million inheritance as a threat to his claim on syndicate resources. He's coming after me, Naomi said flatly. He's already started. The federal investigation, your cousin's betrayal, the attempts to seize the bracelet. All orchestrated by him to destabilize you, make you vulnerable, isolate you from Minjun's protection. Margaret sipped her tea. He's very good at using people's weaknesses against them. And your weakness is your kindness. He'll send someone you trust, someone who needs help, someone you won't suspect. And when you let them close, they'll destroy you. The words hung in the air like poison. Naomi thought about Vivian, about the $5,000 stipend, about how easily she trusted her cousin's tears. It's already happened, hasn't it? Margaret's eyes were sharp. Someone came to you. Someone broken and desperate. And you helped them because that's who you are. Vivian came 3 hours ago, Minjun said, his voice tight. Naomi gave her money. Then you have approximately 48 hours before she makes her move. Your uncle will have instructed her to get close, gain access to your home or accounts, and then... Margaret made a slashing motion across her throat.
Tragique accident.
Young heiress dead. Inheritance transferred to remaining family. Clean and profitable. Naomi felt sick. Vivian wouldn't. She was genuinely sorry. She was genuinely bankrupt. Your uncle offered her a choice. Help him eliminate you, or lose everything permanently. People choose survival over morality more often than we'd like to believe. Minjun was already on his phone. Jinsu, locate Vivian Carmichael. Full surveillance. I want to know everywhere she goes, everyone she meets, every word she says. Already on it, sir. She's at a cafe 2 blocks from here. Meeting with a man registered as your uncle's personal attorney. The confirmation hit like a fist. Naomi had wanted so badly to believe people could change, that kindness could transform cruelty. But some people were exactly who they'd always been, just better at hiding it. What do we do? She asked quietly. Margaret smiled, and it was sharp as the jade around Naomi's wrist. We do what the syndicate has always done. We turn their trap into ours. We let Vivian think she's winning while we document everything. And then we destroy your uncle so completely that no one will ever threaten Dae-young's children again. I'm not a killer, Naomi said. No. But I am. Minjun's expression was colder than she'd ever seen. And family protects family. No matter the cost. The plan was simple. Let Vivian proceed with whatever she'd been instructed to do. Document everything. Use her as bait to draw out Uncle Marcus and Minjun's uncle simultaneously. Destroy both threats in one coordinated strike. Naomi hated every second of it. She's coming to the penthouse tomorrow, Jinsu reported, showing them surveillance footage of Vivian meeting with the lawyer. She's supposed to install software on your computer that will give them access to your financial accounts. Then she'll plant evidence suggesting you're involved in money laundering. The plan is to trigger a federal investigation that freezes your assets while your uncle contests the inheritance in probate court. Elegant, Margaret said with grudging respect. Attack her credibility and her finances simultaneously. Even if she proves innocence eventually, the legal battle would take years and drain resources. By the time she wins, her uncle would have already absorbed most of the inheritance through various shell companies. Minjun studied the footage. What's Vivian getting out of this? $20 million and her father's forgiveness. She thinks she's securing her future. Jinsu switched to another camera angle. She doesn't realize that the moment she's no longer useful, she becomes a liability. Your uncle doesn't leave loose ends. Naomi felt cold despite the penthouse's perfect climate control. They're going to kill her too. Most likely, after she completes her task. Margaret pulled out her phone, showing them a photo. This man, do you recognize him? The photo showed an Asian man in his 60s, expensive suit, cruel eyes. He looked like an older, harder version of Minjun. My uncle, Minjun confirmed. Koi Seung-go. He's been in Korea for the past year, supposedly handling syndicate business there. When did he return to Los Angeles? 3 days ago. Right after Naomi's inheritance transferred. Margaret swiped through more photos. He's meeting with Russian contacts, consolidating alliances. He's preparing for war, Minjun. Not a subtle takeover, an actual hostile coup within the syndicate. And you're his primary target. Why not just kill me? Why this elaborate scheme with Naomi? Because killing you outright would make you a martyr. The younger generation in the syndicate respects you. They see you as reforming the organization, making it more profitable and less violent. If he kills you, he faces rebellion. Margaret leaned back. But if you're disgraced first, implicated in money laundering through your fiancé, revealed to have a secret half-black sister that your father hid, shown to be weak and sentimental, then killing you looks like justice, not murder. The pieces clicked together in Naomi's mind. I'm not just bait for my Uncle Marcus. I'm bait to destroy Minjun's reputation, so Sung-ho can take over without resistance. Exactly. 2 problems, 1 solution. Sung-ho gets the syndicate, Marcus gets your money, and you both get graves. Margaret's smile was sharp. But they made one critical mistake. What's that? They assumed you'd be easy to manipulate because you're young and inexperienced. They didn't account for you having me. Margaret stood, pulling documents from her briefcase. I've spent 30 years building leverage in the syndicate. I know every secret, every debt, every skeleton in every closet. And I'm about to use all of it to bury both your uncles so deep they'll never see daylight again. Minjun read through the documents, his expression growing darker with each page. This is everything. Sung-ho's embezzlement from syndicate funds. Marcus's connections to human trafficking. Both of them working with Russian groups to flood the West Coast with fentanyl. Evidence of at least 15 murders between them. Margaret's voice was steady. I've been collecting this for a decade, waiting for the right moment to use it. This is that moment. Why? Naomi asked. Why help us? You said yourself, you weren't my father's greatest love. Why risk your life for his children? Margaret was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of decades. Because Dae-young was the only man who ever saw me as more than a tool or a trophy. He trusted me with his empire, his secrets, his legacy. And when I told him I loved him, when I finally found the courage to be honest, he didn't laugh or exploit it. He just said, I wish I could love you the way you deserve. But my heart belongs to someone else, and I won't insult you with lies. She wiped her eyes, a gesture so human it shocked Naomi. He gave me the gift of honesty. In our world, that's rarer than love. So yes, I'll protect his children. Because that's what you do when someone treats you with dignity. You honor it. The plan activated the next day. Vivian arrived at the penthouse with her fake tears and rehearsed apologies. Naomi let her in, played along, pretended to believe the performance. I got a job interview, Vivian said, accepting tea that Jinsu had prepared. Entry-level marketing position. It's not much, but it's a start. I wanted to thank you again for the stipend. It gave me time to figure things out. I'm glad it helped. Naomi's voice sounded convincing even to her own ears. Do you need anything else? Clothes for the interview, maybe? I have more than I can ever wear. Really? That would be amazing. Naomi led Vivian to her bedroom, deliberately leaving her laptop open on the desk. I'll be right back. Going to grab some shoes that might fit you. She left the room, counted to 60, returned to find Vivian exactly where expected. At the laptop, USB drive inserted, fingers flying across the keyboard. Find everything you needed? Naomi asked pleasantly. Vivian jumped, pulling the USB drive out so fast she nearly dropped it. The screen was on. I thought maybe you'd left a message. You thought you'd install malware that would give my uncle access to my accounts. Naomi's voice stayed calm. You thought you'd plant evidence of money laundering so federal agents would freeze my assets. You thought you'd help destroy me so your father would take you back. Vivian's face drained of color. How did you? Cameras. Everywhere. We've been watching you since you sat down with my uncle's lawyer 3 days ago. We know everything, Vivian. Every meeting, every instruction, every lie. The bedroom door opened. Minjun entered, followed by Jinsu and 4 security operatives. We also know your father plans to kill you the moment you complete this task, Minjun said without emotion. You're a loose end. Loose ends don't survive in our world. Vivian collapsed onto the bed, her whole body shaking. He said he promised if I did this. He promised you money and forgiveness. What he meant was money in his pocket and your body in the ocean. Minjun pulled out his phone, playing a recording. Marcus's voice filled the room. Once the girl installs the software, eliminate her. Make it look like an overdose. She's been unstable since I cut her off anyway. No one will question it. Vivian sobbed, the sound broken and animal. My own father. My own. Your own father has been using you as a tool your entire life, Naomi said. Just like he used me. Just like he uses everyone. The difference is, I'm offering you a choice. Help us destroy him. Or face charges for attempted financial fraud and conspiracy. Your decision. What kind of choice is that? The only one you have left. 30 minutes later, Vivian sat in Minjun's office wearing a wire. The plan had evolved. She would proceed with the meeting where she was supposed to confirm the malware installation. But instead of confirming success, she'd deliver something else entirely. The truth. The meeting was set for a warehouse near the port of Los Angeles. Uncle Marcus would be there, along with Minjun's Uncle Sungho. They'd celebrate their apparent victory, discuss dividing the spoils, and plan Minjun's elimination. They'd also be surrounded by FBI agents, syndicate loyalists who'd been turned by Margaret's evidence, and enough recording equipment to document their confessions in courtroom-quality detail. You ready? Jin-Soo asked Vivian, adjusting the wire. No. But I'm doing it anyway. Vivian looked at Naomi. I know this doesn't erase what I did to you. Nothing can. But maybe it's a start. Maybe, Naomi agreed. Or maybe it's just survival. Either way, try not to get killed. I'd hate for my last act of mercy to end in your death. Makes me look like I have bad judgment. Vivian laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. Your judgment is terrible. You're trusting me again after I literally tried to destroy you. I'm not trusting you. I'm giving you the opportunity to earn trust. There's a difference. Naomi straightened Vivian's collar, hiding the wire more effectively. My mother went to prison for people who didn't deserve it. My father built an empire for a daughter he never met. I come from people who believed in second chances even when it cost them everything. So that's what I believe too. Your mother was an idiot. My mother was a saint. And I'm definitely not her. Which means if you betray me again, Vivian, I won't give you a third chance. I'll let the syndicate handle you. And they're significantly less forgiving than I am. The threat landed with clarity. Vivian nodded, her hands shaking as she gathered her purse. They drove to the warehouse in separate cars. Minjun and Naomi in one, Vivian with 2 security operatives in another. FBI vans were already in position, disguised as shipping containers. Margaret Zhang waited in a surveillance van, coordinating with both the syndicate and federal authorities. A partnership that would have been impossible without her decades of connections. You don't have to watch this, Minjun said as they parked. You could wait in the car. Let me handle the violence. They threatened me. Used my family against me. Tried to steal everything my father left me. Naomi's voice was steel. I'm watching every second. Vivian entered the warehouse. Cameras hidden in her clothing showed 2 men waiting, Marcus and Sungho, both smiling like predators who'd already tasted blood. Is it done? Marcus asked immediately. It's done. The malware is installed. She has no idea. Vivian's voice shook, but it could have been excitement as easily as fear. Good girl. Marcus pulled out a briefcase, setting it on a table. 20 million as promised. Though you've cost me far more than that with your stupid jealousy. If you just kept your mouth shut about the labor violations. I was trying to hurt her. I didn't know it would backfire. Well, it did. But this makes up for it. Once the feds freeze her accounts, I'll petition for guardianship of her assets. Claim she's mentally unstable, unable to manage her own affairs. Between my lawyer and Sungho's connections, we'll have control within 6 months. Sungho spoke for the first time, his voice carrying an accent stronger than Minjun's. And the girl herself? The half-breed daughter. The slur made Naomi's hands clench. Minjun totte arm. Steadying. Tragique accident. Overdose probably. She's been under tremendous stress after all. Inheritance, new wealth, family drama. People will understand. Marcus opened the briefcase. Empty. What the? What you'll understand, Vivian said, her voice suddenly stronger, is that you're both under arrest. The warehouse exploded with movement. FBI agents poured in from hidden positions. Syndicate operatives loyal to Minjun blocked the exits. Margaret Zhang walked in last, her expression triumphant. Marcus Okafor, Choi Sungho, you're both under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted financial fraud, human trafficking, money laundering, and about 40 other charges I'll let the federal prosecutor explain. The lead FBI agent's smile was satisfied. You have the right to remain silent. Marcus lunged at Vivian. You traitoress. Minjun's security stopped him before he got within 3 feet. He screamed obscenities, threats, promises of revenge. But it was empty noise. He had no power here. Sungho was quieter, more calculating. He looked directly at the camera he somehow knew was there. Looked at Minjun through technology and distance. This isn't over, nephew. The syndicate doesn't forget betrayal. The syndicate just voted you out, Margaret said calmly. I polled the senior members this morning. Presented them with your embezzlement evidence, your Russian alliances, your plans to flood the West Coast with fentanyl. They voted unanimously to remove you from all positions of authority. You're not syndicate anymore. You're just a criminal. And criminals go to prison. Sung-ho's face finally showed emotion, rage, disbelief, and the dawning understanding that he'd lost everything. They were both taken away in FBI custody. Vivian collapsed against the warehouse wall, pulling off the wire with shaking hands. Is it really over? She asked no one in particular. For them, Naomi said, entering the warehouse with Minjun. For you, it's just beginning. The FBI will want your testimony. Witness protection, probably. New identity, new life. Everything you knew is gone. Good. Everything I knew was toxic anyway. Vivian met Naomi's eyes. I meant what I said before. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry. I believe you. This time. Naomi held out her hand. Try to do something good with your second chance. Because you're not getting a third one. Vivian shook her hand, then walked toward the FBI agents who would process her into a new existence. Margaret approached Minjun and Naomi, her expression softer than they'd ever seen. Your father would be proud. Both of you handled this exactly right, strategically, efficiently, with minimal violence. That's the future of the syndicate. Less brutality, more intelligence. The syndicate still traffics in stolen art and illegal weapons, Naomi pointed out. Rome wasn't reformed in a day. Give your brother time. He'll change it piece by piece, until it's something your father would have been proud to leave behind. Margaret touched Naomi's shoulder briefly. And you'll change it just by existing. The syndicate's first half-black heir. A woman who chooses kindness over cruelty. You're a revolution they don't even know is coming. She left them standing in the warehouse, surrounded by evidence of violence prevented and justice served. Is she right? Naomi asked Minjun. Can we actually change the syndicate? Or are we just putting better window dressing on the same criminal enterprise? I don't know, but we can try. And trying is more than our father ever did. Minjun pulled out his phone, checking messages. The senior members want to meet you officially. Acknowledge you as Dae-young's daughter. Welcome you into the family. It's ceremonial, but important. Will they accept me? A half-black daughter their precious leader hid for 23 years. Some will. Some won't. But they'll respect you, because you've proven you're not someone to underestimate. You brought down 2 threats to the syndicate using intelligence and strategy. That's the language they speak. Naomi touched her jade bracelet, thinking about her mother. About choices made in darkness and love expressed through sacrifice. Then let's go meet my family. The one my father chose, and the one I'm choosing now. The Jade Syndicate Senior Council met in a restaurant that didn't exist on any map. Hidden in Los Angeles's Koreatown. Accessible only through a bookshop's back room. Protected by security that made the FBI look casual. Naomi walked through its doors wearing her mother's jade bracelet and her father's legacy. 12 people sat around a table that had witnessed decades of decisions. Some profitable, some violent, all consequential. They represented the syndicate's power structure. 6 Korean, 3 Chinese, 2 Japanese, 1 Vietnamese. All of them had known Choi Dae-young. All of them had built empires alongside him. And all of them were staring at Naomi like she was a ghost. She has his eyes, one woman said in Korean. Minjun had insisted Naomi wear an earbud with real-time translation. The same intelligence. The same calculation. She also has her mother's defiance, another added. Naomi Okafor refused to name Dae-young even under federal interrogation. This girl refused to hide even when it would have been safer. Pride runs in both bloodlines. The eldest member, a man named Park who'd founded the syndicate alongside Dae-young 40 years ago, gestured for Naomi to sit at the table's empty seat, the seat that had been Dae-young's. Naomi Okafor, he said in accented English. Daughter of our brother, Choi Dae-young. We welcome you. Thank you. Naomi's voice was steady despite her racing heart. Though I'm not sure I want to be welcomed into a criminal organization. Silence. Then Park laughed, the sound genuine and surprised. Honest. Just like your father claimed to be before he learned that honesty in our world is weakness. Park leaned forward. Your father left you $300 million and a legacy in the Jade Syndicate. The money is yours by right. The legacy is yours by choice. You can walk away, live a normal life, forget any of this existed. Or you can stay and help your brother transform what we built into something better. Better how? You still traffic in stolen art. Still engage in illegal activities that harm people. Yes. And your brother has been working to shift our focus toward crimes that harm institutions rather than individuals. Art theft from museums and private collections. We redistribute pieces to their countries of origin. Money laundering for political refugees and activists. We help people escape oppression. We're not heroes, but we're trying to be less villainous. Park's expression was serious. Your father dreamed of this transformation. He just didn't live long enough to accomplish it. Perhaps his daughter will. Margaret Zhang entered the room, carrying a wooden box that looked ancient. She set it in front of Naomi without ceremony. Your father left this for you. His final gift, to be opened in the presence of the council if you chose to accept your legacy. Naomi's hands shook as she opened the box. Inside was a single painting, small, maybe 8 by 10 inches. It showed a young black woman holding an infant, both of them rendered in such loving detail that Naomi could see individual eyelashes, the texture of the baby's blanket, the exhaustion and joy mixed in the woman's expression. Her mother, holding baby Naomi. He painted this from photographs, Margaret said quietly. Spent months getting every detail perfect. It was his most treasured possession. He kept it hidden in his private studio, only bringing it out when he needed to remember why he kept fighting, why he kept building, why he kept living. Naomi traced the painting's edge, tears blurring her vision. Her father had never met her, had never held her, had made terrible choices that destroyed her mother's freedom, but he had loved them. Had carried that love like a sacred burden until his death. There's more, Minjun said, pulling out his phone. I found this in his personal files after the council agreed to acknowledge you. It's dated 2 weeks before he died. He played a video. Dae-young appeared, older than in previous recordings, visibly ill but still sharp-eyed. Naomi, my daughter. If you're watching this, you've chosen to claim your legacy in the syndicate. I'm proud, even though I have no right to be. I wasn't there for your childhood, your struggles, your triumphs. I was an absent father who hid behind excuses about safety and tradition. But know this, every decision I made, every dollar I earned, every piece of art I stole or laundered or sold, it was all for you. To build you a foundation so strong that nothing could shake it. To give you power so complete that no one could ever hurt you the way the world hurt your mother. He paused, his breathing labored. The syndicate is yours if you want it. Not to lead, Minjun is better suited for that. But to shape, to transform, to make into something worthy of the sacrifices your mother made, and the suffering she endured. She went to prison so you could be free. I built an empire so you could be powerful. Together, their gifts make you unstoppable. Use that power wisely. Use it kindly. Be better than both of us. The video ended. Naomi wiped her eyes, aware that 12 of the most dangerous people in North America were watching her cry. I'll accept the legacy, she said clearly. But on my terms. I want the syndicate to stop all human trafficking connections immediately. I want reparations made to families harmed by our past activities. And I want a portion of all profits directed toward programs that help at-risk youth escape situations like mine, abuse, exploitation, family trafficking. Park nodded slowly. Those are expensive terms. I'm an expensive daughter. My father left me $300 million. I'm offering to reinvest half of it into the syndicate's transformation. That should cover the initial costs of restructuring. The council members looked at each other, whispered in multiple languages. Finally, Park spoke again. We accept your terms. Welcome to the Jade Syndicate, Naomi Okafor. You are now recognized as Choi Dae-young's daughter and heir, with all rights and protections that entails. They stood as one, bowing in unison, a gesture of respect that hadn't been given to anyone outside the founding families in decades. Naomi stood too, bowing back. She was part of this now, part of a criminal empire she'd transform or die trying. 6 months later, Naomi stood in front of the building that would become the Okafor Foundation's headquarters. Named after her mother's maiden name, dedicated to helping survivors of family trafficking and abuse, funded by art theft and money laundering. The irony wasn't lost on her. "You really did it," Vivian said beside her. She looked different now. Shorter hair, less makeup, clothes from Target instead of Chanel. Witness protection had been good for her, stripping away the armor she'd worn for so long. Built something good from something terrible. "We did it," Naomi corrected. "You're the one who agreed to testify. Your father and Minjun's uncle got 20 years each. That doesn't happen without you. I'm still sorry for everything before. I don't think I'll ever stop being sorry." "Good. Guilt means growth. Just don't let it paralyze you." Naomi handed her a folder. Job offer. Director of Survivor Services for the Foundation. Salary is modest by your old standards, but the work matters. You'd be helping people like you and me. People whose families destroyed them instead of protecting them. Vivian stared at the folder like it might bite. "You're offering me a job? After everything?" "I'm offering you purpose. Take it or leave it. But decide quickly. I have 12 other candidates interviewing tomorrow." Vivian took the folder. "I'll take it. And I'll prove I deserve it." "You better. Because I don't give fourth chances." Minjun arrived in his Mercedes, Jinsu driving. He'd been at a syndicate meeting all morning, renegotiating contracts with European partners to phase out weapons trafficking. The transformation was slow, expensive, and dangerous. But it was happening. "How did it go?" Naomi asked as he joined her on the sidewalk. 3 groups agreed to the new terms. 2 walked away. 1 threatened war. So about average for syndicate negotiations. He smiled tiredly. "Margaret says we're making progress. I think we're just making enemies slower than we're making allies." "That's still progress." They stood together, brother and sister, looking at the foundation that bore their mother's name. Around Naomi's wrist, the jade bracelet caught sunlight, throwing green fire across concrete. "Do you think they'd be proud?" Naomi asked quietly. "Our mother and father? If they could see what we built from their mistakes. I think they'd be amazed we survived. Pride might be asking too much." Minjun touched the bracelet gently. "But maybe that's the point. We're not trying to make them proud. We're trying to make their sacrifices mean something. That's a different goal. A better one." "Maybe." Naomi's phone buzzed. A text from Margaret Zhang. "Council meeting next week. Vote on complete elimination of human trafficking connections. Your presence required. Bring your courage. There will be resistance." She showed Minjun the message. He nodded grimly. "They said no man would ever choose you," he said, echoing the words that had started everything. "They said you'd be invisible forever, unwanted, forgotten." "And then the Korean Mafia boss arrived," Naomi finished, smiling, "and chose me anyway. For all the wrong reasons that turned into all the right ones. We chose each other. Family chooses family." Above them, the foundation's sign was being installed. Large letters spelling hope in concrete form. Below it, in smaller script, a quote from Naomi's mother that she'd found in an old journal. "Your worth is not determined by the people who tried to diminish you. It's determined by what you build after they fail." Naomi Okafor, daughter of an art thief and a crime lord, survivor of 8 years of abuse, heir to $300 million and a criminal empire, watched the sign go up and thought about choices. Her mother had chosen prison to protect the people she loved. Her father had chosen to build an empire for a daughter he'd never meet. Minjun had chosen honesty over convenient lies. And Naomi had chosen to break cycles instead of perpetuating them. She wore stolen jade on her wrist and carried her parents' mistakes in her blood. But she also carried their love, their sacrifice, and their hope that she would be better than both of them. The foundation opened its doors. People filed in. Survivors seeking help, donors offering support, volunteers wanting purpose. Each one a story of pain transformed into power. And Naomi thought, this is what it means to be chosen. Not by a man or a title or circumstances beyond your control, but by yourself. By your own values, your own vision, your own refusal to let cruelty have the final word. They said no man would ever choose her. They were right. She chose herself instead. What do you think about Naomi's journey? From kitchen servant to syndicate heir, from invisible to unstoppable, she proved that the people who try to diminish you are usually the ones most afraid of your power. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment from this story. Was it when Min-jun revealed his identity? When Vivian betrayed Naomi again? When the truth about Dae-young came out? I want to hear what hit you hardest. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about second chances and breaking cycles, and choosing yourself when no one else will, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe and turn on notifications because in a few days, I'm dropping another story that will blow your mind. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Until then, remember, your worth isn't determined by people who benefit from your silence. It's determined by the moment you choose to be seen. Thank you for watching. Every view, every like, every comment, it means the world. Now go be unstoppable.